Welcome to my presentation on pandemics. Before I start explaining a historical comparison of the Spanish flu and COVID-19, I would like to define and what exponential technologies could be used to, help curb COVID-19. I will first get a few terms explained. Firstly, what are pandemics? So let's go to the root of the situation. So it all starts from an epidemic. So an epidemic is an outbreak of a disease in an area within the local area, for example, the city, the country, the region, but not other countries. On the other hand, a pandemic is even larger, that it is an epidemic that spreads globally. In this presentation, I will take the Spanish flu of 1918 to 1920 and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic as case studies. So, as I said earlier in my first slide, a pandemic starts as an epidemic first. An epidemic is a disease outbreak in a certain region. The disease is usually a very communicable disease, meaning it spreads easily, thus infecting many to create an epidemic which could escalate into a pandemic. So I'm going to talk about the Spanish flu right now. So what is the Spanish flu outbreak or pandemic of 1918 to 1920? This is widely known as one of the world's most deadly pandemic due to its high mortality rate at that time, with an estimated death toll of 20 to 50 million people, which was higher than the World Wars, with an estimated 500 million cases. Of course, these are estimated, so it's not a fixed figure. So what makes the Spanish flu so communicable? The Spanish flu is a very communicable disease. It could spread through droplets, as mentioned in my third slide. Poor hygiene at that time because people were less conscious of hygiene 100 years ago. That's why there were so many cholera outbreaks in that era. No concept of social distancing because viruses were quite new to scientific study and to the public, and people also were not immune to this deadly virus because it's like a new virus. And so, however, nowadays the mortality rate of the Spanish flu is way lower than it was before the H1N1 virus because there are vaccines and which help us fight the virus so it doesn't become that severe. So some may wonder how the Spanish flu does affect the human body. So how does it kill a person? So it kills a person by infecting the lungs of a person. The body's natural immune response is to produce mucus. As the disease starts becoming more severe, the patient will produce more mucus naturally until it nearly fills the entire lungs, which causes shortness of breath and difficulty breathing. And these could lead to the patient basically suffocating to death due to the lack of oxygen, asphyxia, until they die. And if you're wondering why people would die, because at that time there were no ventilators. The first ventilator, the iron lung, was used for polio, and that only came in 1928, which was 8 years after the pandemic ended. So that's the reason why the death rate was so many people died and the death rate was very high. So next, I will be talking about COVID-19. COVID-19 is an ongoing pandemic. There's also another alternative name to it called SARS-CoV-2. So here are the facts of COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic, as I said, started in Wuhan, China in November 2019. On the 31st of December 2019, Chinese officials had broken the news to the world of this pandemic. By March, the World Health Organization, the WHO, had escalated the epidemic into a pandemic. As of the time of reporting, 1st of April, there are 789,781 cases of COVID-19 and 38,599 deaths from the COVID-19 pandemic. Next, I would like to introduce this. What makes it so communicable? So similarly, just like the H1N1 virus of the Spanish flu, this is actually one of the most, or if not the most, infectious disease the world has ever seen. It can spread quickly and easily through droplets. People can be carriers and spread the disease without knowing, as the incubation period can be up to 14 days compared to 3 days of the influenza virus, H1N1 virus, that many people died during the Spanish flu. More people and higher population densities also means that one person could infect more people, so the exponential rate is even higher. The equation of the graph means there will be even more cases over time as this builds on. And so, how does the virus kill a person? So basically, the virus infects the lungs, then the immune system starts providing mucus, shortness of breath, and then the patient requires oxygen. And nowadays there are a lot of ventilators, but they need it for a long time. And even though we have a lot of ventilators, they're expensive, and so there are now and because there's so many cases that are severe, many people don't get the ventilators, and thus death becomes a reality in this COVID-19 pandemic. So what kind of exponential technologies we can use? We can use AI technologies that are able to monitor a large mass of people data, and then it can be put into one whole information set that we can monitor the community health, right sources, and we can also use it to inform people. We can also use robots for food delivery. So instead of people having to go to the supermarket to buy groceries, there will be robot deliveries. Of course, this is still for the future, but these technologies are starting to grow. We can also use robots to spray disinfectants. We can use robot doctors to care for COVID-19 patients. We can also, use technology such as that we have now, like mobile devices that could be provided for video calls for families that are missing somebody because they have to self-quarantine themselves because one person has the virus. And so we can use it for a lot of things. We can also use robots to scan people on the streets. Those robots process the information using AI technology and stuff, but these things are still developing, and these could, be implemented in quite the near future. All right, the end.